Let's speak with Robert Naouss. Robert is Deputy Director of Communications at the Carnegie Middle East Centre in Beirut, from where he joins us now. Robert Naouss, good to speak with you again. We heard the Turkish Prime Minister speaking there, speaking strongly, speaking sternly, but speaking certainly with a moderate tone in regard to the shooting down of one of his jets by Syrian forces. So reading into that, where are Turkey-Syria relations at? Where could they well be heading?
Good evening, Scott. Actually, the Syrian-Turkish relations are already in very bad situation following the uprising in Syria and Turkey's position and in supporting the opposition and other factors. I don't think that politically anything else will happen for now. As for the military level, we have heard the Deputy Prime Minister, Bülent Arınç, say that Turkey will not go into war against any state. And it's highly unlikely that anything military confrontation or even retaliation will take place because of many factors, including that they don't want any escalation in the region. And Turkey knows that Syria can mobilize the Kurdish Workers' Party in Turkey, and it might affect its security and stability as well. So they don't want to retaliate for now. And I think that unless...
I'm sorry, Robert, we're still listening to you.
I'm sorry?
Please continue.
Okay. Yes, so I think that the political relations will still be the same. And for the military, there won't be any action, any retaliative action from the part of Turkey against Syria. And even now, NATO's summit, I think that it will condemn, and it had already condemned what happened, but they won't take any action, despite that Turkey had asked NATO to consider this as an attack on the whole military alliance.
Before we talk a little more about the NATO response, beyond the self-defense argument, why would Syria risk escalating tensions by shooting down a jet, or indeed was that the intention?
I think that it was the intention. Now, the Syrians said that they didn't realize that it was a Turkish plane until it was shot down. The Turkish say they completely the opposite thing. So, but I do think that this is an attempt from the regime to say that I'm still here, I'm still strong, our military is still strong and ready to defend itself against any breaches, any strikes, anything from outside, any military intervention, actually. This is a strong message that the regime wants to convey to Turkey and to Turkey's allies and to whoever thinks that a military intervention is the solution to end the Syrian crisis and to support the opposition.
Was it the same sort of thinking or the same rationale that was employed perhaps by Syria when its forces were involved in actions along the border, including shooting across the border into Turkey, apparently at Syrian refugees?
Yes.
So was it the same attitude, the same rationale at that point, that they were
yes.
merely stating their presence?
Yes, actually, yeah. This is the same attempt. It's the same rationale. Syria wants, actually, the Syrian regime wants to send a message that it is still in full control. It's still sovereign. The Syrian territories are off limits. We are still in control of our borders. We are still in control of our airspace. Any breach of our sovereignty, we will retaliate. We will not let this go. So beware. Whoever wants to meddle militarily will get the reply.
Okay, as you mentioned, a little bit of what NATO said a bit earlier in this emergency meeting, and the Secretary-General Rasmussen declaring the alliance's solidarity with Turkey and saying, quote, "I expect such an incident won't happen again." Do you share the NATO chief's confidence?
Actually, no one can know, and even and even the NATO Secretary General, Anders Fogh Rasmussen, this is what he said, but he cannot know for sure. This is an unpredictable crisis. I mean, no one predicted that there was going to be a downing of this plane, this Turkish plane, and it happened. It might happen again. It depends on what Turkey is planning or what the Syrian regime wants to do. So this is highly unpredictable. And what NATO says, I think this is like they want also to send a message of their own to Syria, like, don't do this again. This is what he means by what he said. They want to warn the Syrians that this action another similar attempt might lead to something more, to an escalation. But I don't think that NATO will meddle in Syria. There are like the strategic context, Syria's alliances, Russia, China, Iran. These are all factors that will prevent NATO or even the West in general to just put their boots on the ground in Syria. It's different than Libya.
How satisfied do you think Turkey will be, therefore, to that response by NATO?
It was breaking. Can you please repeat the question, Scott?
Sure, Robert. How satisfied do you think Turkey will be, therefore, to those words from the NATO Secretary General?
I think Turkey wanted more, but Turkey knows that it cannot get more than that. They know that this is what the NATO is going to say. They will express solidarity with them. They will say that we are here and all that. But just like Turkey cannot engage in a military confrontation against the Syrian regime, it knows that the NATO will have the same position, will be in the same position, and they cannot do more than that. So this is expected, and they cannot expect more than that, and the Turks know it. But they might express their disappointment that we wanted something more. But other than sanctions, political, economic, and military sanctions, there's nothing much that you can do.
So nothing much can be done here. But as these acts continue, as the conflict continues in Syria, as we've seen even with vision coming out of there today, the Annan peace plan has failed. Bearing in mind what you've just said, there's nothing much they can do. But what is going to be the tipping point? Surely there must be a tipping point for the international community in regard to the Syrian crisis.
Well, okay, it's obvious now that it's evident that the regime is slowly but steadily collapsing. It is losing control over much of the territory in Homs and Hama and Deir ez-Zor, Daraa and other regions. So this wasn't the case like a few months back. The opposition is being armed by several countries, by individuals as well. They are gaining momentum. They are stronger now. And there are some areas where the army, the regime army, the government forces cannot go. And the Free Syrian Army is organizing itself as well, and there's been funding and all that. So I think that the regime is in a very weak position. It might collapse in the near future. This is a possibility. Otherwise, it's going to be the same stalemate, but it cannot go back, to being the strong regime that's imposing its power on the ground, because it has lost so many so far. And the massacres, latest killings and all that is a testament to what's happening now. It's proving that the regime this is an existential battle for it. I think it's maybe the last step, it's the last phase of this battle. And we saw that in Libya, although it's different, there is NATO intervention, all that. But I think that they have nothing to lose now. They are playing all their cards. And if Russia removes its cover, I think that this will be the end of it, and we will have something similar to the Yemeni solution.
Okay, so further to that, when the Assad regime falls as you forecast, what are the implications for the region?
I think let's start, for example, by Lebanon. I think it will have some bad effects. Things might deteriorate in Lebanon. We know that there are parties that are pro-Assad, pro-Syria, same as for the opposition, which is against the Syrian regime in Lebanon. The country is divided. And I think Hezbollah might find itself in a position that it has to do it has to undertake military action, maybe I'm saying. Or maybe, no, they would prefer to between brackets, to survive and to find new alliances to pursue a different strategy. So it depends on what the Lebanese political actors and who are allied to the Syrian regime decide to do. But it might escalate in Lebanon, especially if Hezbollah finds itself that it has nothing to lose as well. It lost its strategic ally, its logistical ally in Syria, and they will need to do a military action to preserve their strength, their weapons, etc. This is for Lebanon. For Iraq, I think that sectarian tensions might escalate, especially that Iraq and Syria are very close regarding the societal divisions and the categorization. And for Turkey, I don't think there's going to be much, maybe some skirmish on the borders, but nothing else. But I think that the regional powers and the international powers, such as Russia, which which is now backing the regime so far, they don't have any interest in letting things escalate. I think everyone, I'm talking after the collapse, the potential collapse of the Assad regime, I think everyone will try to maintain order and stability because there are many things at stake here. There's Turkish stability, Israeli stability, Lebanon and other states in question. So I don't think that there's going to be a regional turmoil. Things might happen, but sporadically, and not a full-fledged conflict.
Robert Naouss there in Beirut at the Carnegie Middle East Centre. Always appreciate speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time.